You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Nerd, a podcast where you can check out, go AFK, and relax with us as we discuss all things nerd. Comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and anything else that gets geeks more excited than Obi-Wan when he has the high ground.
Welcome to episode number 9. I'm Corey Winter, and I'm joined by my nerdy brother, Josh Winter, and our geeky friend, Jason Summer.
Howdy.
In this Star Wars heavy episode, we're discussing the first 2 episodes of Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi, checking in on the news coming out of Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, California, and we might squeak in a little Star Trek at the end of this episode because we like to mix our Jedi with our Starfleet.
Nice.
Before we dive in, I actually want to quickly remind everybody to share our show with your friends. Share it on social media. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. We're on there now. And just subscribe. We need some numbers. But anyway, so Jason, Josh, how you guys doing?
Good. It's been a good week. It's been gorgeous up here in Indiana, so I've been spending some time outside. It's been beautiful.
I'm actually on vacation right now. I'm at the beach. I'm not going to say which one. But we talked about possibly just not having an episode this week, but with all this Star Wars stuff happening and Obi-Wan happening, I did not feel right to cancel this episode. So we're recording. I'm in a hotel room because it's just that important, guys. We had to talk Star Wars.
Right. And listeners, I want you to understand the significance of this gesture that Corey has done for us here. He is on vacation recording because it's just that important. Josh?
I do feel like every time we take a break or try to do vacations or something like that, a major convention happens.
Yeah.
The irony of which being we're not going to these conventions.
Maybe that should change. Maybe our vacation should be to the conventions
Next year.
Especially, if listeners share and get our numbers up and we can actually, right?
Pump those numbers up.
Pump those numbers. Pump it.
All right. So, Josh, how you doing? You haven't said anything.
Yeah, Josh.
Oh, guys, I've had a heck of a week.
Oh,
It's
So-
Memorial weekend week.
Yeah.
And as you guys know, I sell all things electronics, and appliances are one of those. So this week has just been going nonstop. Memorial Day is a huge appliance weekend.
Pump those numbers up.
Yeah, those are the numbers that I'm pumping. Yeah.
So before I left on this vacation, I went to the world premiere of Top Gun Maverick with my friend. And I just have to say, guys, this is a little bit further outside of our geeky topics than we usually talk about. But I have to say, it might have been a perfect movie, at least as far as action, thrill-seeking movies go. And so if you are just someone that just enjoys going to the theater to watch movies, I highly, 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 highly recommend Top Gun Maverick. It is just a nonstop thrill ride, wonderfully shot. Tom Cruise was top of his game. Go watch it. It is an amazing movie.
Corey has been talking about this movie all freaking week after he's seen it. He loved this movie.
The longer I think about it, the more perfect I think it is. And so I have to go back and see it again. Like, it is an amazing movie. And fun fact, the news came out about how much they actually spent filming this movie. They actually used real jets, like they used U.S. Navy jets to film this movie all the way back in 2018. Like, it's been that long since this movie has been delayed.
I remember that. They
paid the U.S. Navy over $11,000 per hour to use their jets to film.
How many hours?
It didn't say.
Okay.
But Tom Cruise insisted on making this as accurate and realistic as possible. So,
yeah, I remember reading that the one thing that he didn't get to do was actually fly the jet.
Yeah, apparently that's against the rules of the military.
Right. Like, no, you can't know.
But no, so I went into it, everyone loves Top Gun. Like, it's a classic. But, I kind of went into it thinking it's going to be just, a popcorn movie that kind of, rehashes the original. And it's just kind of like, it is what it is. But it wasn't that at all. Like, it definitely made references to the original because, after 30 years, you kind of have to.
Right.
But no, like, it was like there were actually like plot twists and things I did not see coming. Like, it was a well-written movie.
Okay.
I cannot recommend it enough.
Okay.
Go see it. And one last note, I do recommend IMAX. If you have an IMAX near you, definitely go watch it in IMAX. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, I don't live anywhere near that.
Well,
but I'll do the best I can.
So getting into the nerdy news. Hot off the heels, actually, I guess it's still going. Star Wars Celebration, and it's been happening all weekend long. If you're not familiar with Star Wars Celebration, it's this big convention for Star Wars fans that takes place in Anaheim, California every year. And typically big announcements come out of it, which was the case this year. So the first thing that kind of was announced this weekend was Star Wars Andor. We got our first official look, a little teaser trailer for Andor, which is actually starring the character we first saw in Rogue One. But during this panel, where the trailer was shown, we learned that the show, its first season, so actually saying first season, which hints that there will be multiple seasons. The first season is going to debut this August 31st, 2020, or 2022. Not sure why I said 2020. It's going to have a 2-episode premiere, just like Obi-Wan did.
Which is their standard, seems to be.
And the first season is going to consist of 12 episodes.
Ooh.
Which is actually, I mean, of all the, these shows we've been watching lately, like it's been, 6 to 9, but this is 12.
They clearly have some faith in the project, which, I mean, it's a prequel to Rogue One.
Yes, the story
has to be.
The story is set to begin 5 years prior to Rogue One.
Okay.
The first season is going to consist of 12 episodes, and a second part, so a second season, will also be another 12 episodes. So it's going to be at least 24 episodes.
I wonder what story they feel is so big and so important it has to be told, and to give it a preemptive 2 seasons with a 24 episode order. And it's a drama, so I'm assuming that means we're looking at the 45-minute to an hour window, not 30 minutes. I would be very surprised if it was a drama that was 30 minutes or less.
Yeah, aside from what we saw in the teaser trailer, Andor will follow the story of Cassian Andor, the rebel spy played by Diego Luna, who first featured in Rogue One. And honestly, that's the only thing we know about it. So, yeah, it could go anywhere. Honestly, I like the idea because, yet again, we're moving away from the Skywalker characters.
Right.
But we're still set in the same time period. So I like that. Like, we're seeing the events that we're used to, that we're familiar with, but from different perspectives, which I think is a good change of pace.
Well, one of the things I did like about Rogue One is that we got to see the parts of the rebel of the resistance, the Rebel Alliance that wasn't so clean and shiny as represented in episodes 4, 5, and 6. You got to see the darker, just kind of just realistic side, whereas it's just you had to get your hands dirty and a spy versus spy and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
which is always, I think, a little more intriguing. Any spy, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, that kind of stuff. There's always a fun facet.
Yeah, I would be really excited that this was like more of a spy type of Star Wars show.
Right. And I just looked, and I thought I caught him in the trailer, and it looks like I'm right. Stellan Skarsgård is in this as looks like an Imperial officer.
We got more Skarsgårds.
Yeah, we're gonna another Skarsgård. But so he's fun to watch too.
And it's coming soon. It's like we don't have to wait long.
It's like
this
August.
is
Yeah.
So I don't know. So like I'm in a weird spot because I can say with great confidence, Rogue One is probably my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
it's definitely a solid one. Yeah.
So if you're telling me I'm getting a kind of a prequel series that's going to have hopefully the same tone and everything like that, I'm excited, but I'm also worried that you're going to mess it up because it's kind of like what you were saying. Like this is kind of leading into the dirty part that we were first introduced to in the original trilogy, right? Everything's grimy, everything's broken down, everything's falling apart. These are the people who have to crawl around in the dirt and the dust just to get things done. And like, that's really cool. But one of the best parts about Rogue One was it sometimes you could almost forget it was a Star Wars movie because it felt like a war movie.
Yeah.
And like it felt real because of that.
There were hints of the Force, hints of it.
Yeah.
But nothing that was clearly Force related.
So I'm cautiously optimistic.
And I think we're
Yeah.
cautiously optimistic about all these upcoming Star Wars things
Right.
because so far, Star Wars TV shows have been really big hit, and it's like they're kind of 1 for 2, maybe 1.5 for 2.
One
So it could go either way
one
at
and a
this
half.
point.
That's
But
We'll
see.
be able to say soon.
We'll say soon. All right, so moving on to the next show, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. So this is actually the John Watts show we were talking about. So we recently discovered that John Watts was stepping away from Fantastic Four and moving into Star Wars land. So they wasted no time announcing what his show is actually going to be. So that gives you they've probably been working on this for a while because they've already got a cast lined up. They've got a story lined up. So yeah. Anyway. So, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, a new Disney Plus original series that will launch in 2023 and will star Jude Law.
Okay.
Bring,
we know what it's
bring in
about?
some names. Yeah, do we have it?
This new series will follow a group of 10-year-old kids from a small planet who get lost in the galaxy far, far away and must try to find their way home. The story will take place after Star Wars Return of the Jedi and will fit within the timeline of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. Did I say that right? Yeah, that will
Ahsoka.
take place basically after episode 6.
Yeah, Longo, not Shorto.
Yeah.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
I kind of forgot that was the point of this was the coming of age thing. 10 kids. That's a lot of kids.
10-year-old kids. 10-year-old kids.
10-year-old
A group of
kids.
10-year-old
Okay.
kids.
Okay.
Not
That's a little better.
10-year-old kids. 10-year-old
That would be
kids.
Yeah, hyphenated 10-year-old kids.
Interesting.
It could be
Okay.
10. It just says a group. So it could be
A
10.
group. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be 100.
But my takeaway is Jude Law. I love that man. He is
Jude Law's
fantastic.
fun.
Do we know what he's doing? Like that synopsis is all we know.
Honestly, he could go either way. Like he could be the bad guy that's trying to chase down the kids,
See,
or
that's what I was gonna say.
he could be the guy that's trying to save them. Because we've seen him play both sides of the aisle, and he does a great job on both sides. So we don't know.
He does a good job of subverting what side of the aisle he's on, too.
The one that that's a point. It's not spoilers. The one that comes to mind is his role in Captain Marvel, where he started off, you're thinking he's a good guy, then by the end he's
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
a bad guy.
That is
Yeah.
precisely what I was thinking of.
But then he also plays characters like Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and he was obviously a very good guy. So,
Dumbledore.
oh yeah, freaking Dumbledore. Yeah.
No, that's right. He is.
So obviously John Watts, he's showrunner. Christopher Ford and John Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Good names. Excellent.
Will serve as producers. So John Favreau
Good.
is involved in this show.
I think
It's
we've also
something
determined that Dave Filoni is also a good name to be associated these days with Star Wars stories. Yeah. So good. That's excellent. It's good news. All right, Corey, what's next? All right, Mr. Agenda Man, let's go.
The Mandalorian season 3 is coming February 2023.
So this doesn't really relate to season 3, but I have to say this. So I've got
Okay.
I've got one of my Pandora channels is it's a movie theme channel. And it's just all, whatever movie themes that for movies I like. The Mandalorian theme finally popped up in there this week. And it made me smile. I totally enjoyed it. So anyway, moving on. Just wanted to share that.
Anyway, yeah, this is a small little nugget. It's just that The Mandalorian obviously was returning at some point, but officially season 3, Feb 2023.
Yes.
It was typically like a late fall winter show, wasn't it? So like this is actually coming a little bit later than we're used to, right?
Honestly, don't remember.
I don't recall either.
I feel like I remember watching the original 2 seasons like over December, but it doesn't matter.
My question is, are we going to get Boba Fett splashed in The Mandalorian since we splashed The Mandalorian into Boba Fett?
I think as long as he's like, peppered in there every now and then, I think it'll probably be okay. I don't know if I can handle another series of Boba Fett.
I just hope we're not on Tatooine anymore.
I think we're done with that planet.
We will never be done with that. planet.
We're currently on Tatooine.
Well,
If there's a bright center to the galaxy, it's the planet that's farthest from. But all the interesting things happen there.
It's very true.
A quick Mandalorian thing. Did you guys know that Jon Favreau was the voice of the Mandalorian that challenged Mando to the Darksaber?
Did not know that.
Yes, and they made a commemorative action figure of him without his helmet on, and you can buy it, and
I
it
did
looks
not
like
know
Jon Favreau.
That's awesome.
Pretty
That's-
cool. I kind of
pretty
want to
cool.
get it,
That's awesome.
even though you never see it in the show.
Yeah.
They made the action figure, and it's pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
I think that the fact that Jon Favreau finally has an action figure is
About
pretty
time.
awesome. Great.
I'm sure he got one for Iron Man. A little like
Was he in? Did they do a?
He's
a
Happy Hogan. Yeah.
I mean, did they do
I
an
don't know.
action figure for him?
I mean,
I'm sure they
not
did.
not like the kind
Like
that
bottom
I collect,
shelf,
but
but
yeah, but
wow.
I'm sure there's a little 6-inch Jon Favreau running around somewhere.
yeah.
That's,
All right,
I think
all
the
right.
weirdest sentence I've heard in a while.
A little 6-inch Jon
A little
Favreau running
6-inch
around somewhere.
Yep.
Uh,
John, just to let you know, we are your biggest fans.
I'm picturing like a cross between Toy Story and Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, right where are you going with that one? Yes.
All right. So moving right along in Star Wars Celebrations, a little nugget coming out. We didn't see anything from the show, but the Acolyte. We talked a little bit about this on the previous episode of the podcast. How we're thinking it's gonna be kind of like a culty. They focus on the bad guys. Set 100 years before Episode 1. But it was coming out some more details came out as the showrunner was giving some interviews. She basically said that the Acolyte will turn parts of the old extended universe into canon.
That's good news.
So all of this coming out, Kathleen Kennedy, obviously big producer of Star Wars, she says, and I quote, "What's wonderful about Leslie is she knows it all. I mean, she's read a gazillion books inside the EU, the extended universe. There are little bits and pieces that she's drawing from that no one has explored yet in the on-screen storytelling."
Well, yeah, because as soon as Disney bought it, they said none of that counts.
I was thinking exactly.
That's why no one's exploring
That's
it.
exactly what I was just thinking. So, and then of course the other question is, what kind of rights did these extended universe creators, what did they give up in order to write these stories? Like, did they sign some sort of agreement where if their intellectual property was used by Lucas at some point, did they agree to not get royalties or something like that? So I kind of wonder what that means at this point. If they're using, specific extended universe information and stories, are the intellectual property creators, are they getting recognized? Are they getting, royalties for it? What does that mean?
I want to go ahead and say no.
Yeah. I think
because they like all of these books and everything are still in print. They just changed it to a sub-label that they say is not canon. So at no point did Lucasfilm or after the purchase Disney not own the rights to everything they wrote. It's contract work. You don't own what you make when you do contract work.
Good point.
So my guess is the House of Mouse has always owned this and they can do whatever they want with it. They don't have to pay anybody.
Fair enough. Because I know that was one of the issues with Star Trek when they wanted to bring back a character from the Next Generation as a main character in Voyager, who ended up being Tom Paris. They wanted him to actually be one of the cadets from Wesley's group that ended up, they were doing some sort of graduation stunt and some cadet got killed. And he was the leader of this group. And he ended up getting expelled from the academy. And they wanted to bring that character back as a main character, but because the author who wrote that character wanted too much money to release the name, so they had to go with a different name for the character. So that's why we got Tom Paris instead of somebody else for Voyager.
Interesting.
Yeah. So those are kind of the thoughts that I have when we talk about bringing stories from one media or one series to another. So I kind of wonder how that all works.
Oh man, I have no idea.
Yeah. Just interesting. I don't know. It's interesting to me.
All right, moving on. We have one more Star Wars related topic to talk about coming out of Star Wars Celebrations, obviously aside from Obi-Wan. Ahsoka. I'm going to preface this story by saying I'm not going to get any of these names correct at all because I have not actually seen Star Wars Rebels, so I'm just going to be making these names up as I go. So there was a panel at Star Wars Celebrations where the audience in attendance got to see a tease, some kind of trailer or something of the upcoming Ahsoka series, and we have not seen it online yet. So they're holding this little look at the series pretty top secret for the moment. But we did learn that the series is going to feature the live action versions of the Star Wars Rebels Sabine Wren, Chopper, and Hera Syndulla. and possibly Ezra Bridger. So 4 previously only animated characters are making their transitions into live action in the upcoming Ahsoka series. So I just want to say, so obviously one little tidbit coming out of this is that the series is arriving sometime next year. My takeaway is that with all these previously animated only characters transitioning into live action, and with the previous news from the last story that extended universe properties are becoming canon, possibly, this kind of opens the door for things like Kyle Katarn to make his transition into canon. So
yes. What is it? That was from Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight?
Yeah, all the Jedi Knight games. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that game so much.
Well, I think they just realized how much they messed up.
Yeah.
When they basically said all of the extra material you've been reading and playing and watching for the last 30 years doesn't count.
Yeah.
Like that was a pretty bold move. And I think a lot of people kind of took negatively to it. So, and I mean, to be clear, they have not said that they're going to recanonize all the old material.
Correct.
But
correct.
Some of the people in charge like some of the things from the old material, and they may be brought into the fold in a new way. So, so characters like Darth Revan and things like that may make their way into canon.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean everything you've ever seen about Darth Revan is canon.
Okay, that's a good point.
And it'll so that's I think we need to be clear about that. At no point did they say the EU is going to be canon.
Yeah,
just elements from it might make its way over.
Yeah. I just want Kyle Katarn.
yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. I never got the impression that they were gonna make all extended universe information and stories canon. It was just those parts.
Yeah. At this point, it would be contradictory.
Yeah,
it'd be like saying everything in the Marvel comics happened in the MCU.
Right.
It doesn't track. That doesn't.
Yeah.
But do we want things from the comics to keep making its way in? Of course we do.
Heck yeah.
So
yeah. Hayden Christensen is also supposed to be in this.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
which would make sense.
Back as Anakin Skywalker.
That was his Padawan. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this show's going to be stacked full of characters, so it should be a fun show.
And at this point, he would be all Vadery, right? Yeah, he would be Vader.
Ahsoka is set in the same time frame as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
So wow. So it's all post
another post Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
They are.
They're really focusing right there at her.
That was.
So let's go ahead and take this for a second. So because this is actually something I was thinking about earlier today. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more when we get to Obi-Wan here in a minute. But I find the period between 3 and 4 vastly more interesting than the period between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the only parts that I'd be super interested in seeing before we introduce the Mandalorian and that whole thing between 6 and 7 would have been what Jason, I'm sure, is feeling. And that would have been what Luke did post Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really the only story I would have been hyped about before we introduced the Mandalorian. So to me, from a narrative standpoint, the fall of the Republic and the very sudden transition into an empire and the boot crushing and everything that's fascinating. It's not as much fun to go from an empire that fell and watch people slowly try to rebuild things, which I think is why we haven't really seen any of that. We're focusing on a very small group of people and doing something that has nothing to do with the overall state of the universe.
And we're spending a lot of time on these fringe planets too. That's the other thing. It's like, let's see the heart of the empire. Let's see the heart of the Republic. Let's see these things. We got a taste of them, in Coruscant. But what else is there? Certainly there has to be more.
Yeah. Tatooine is the most interesting planet in the Okay. No, I was just thinking that earlier and I just wanted to say it. Like, I want more shows set around the same time as Obi-Wan as opposed to everything else. Like, I think that's going to be another thing that Andor has going for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I agree.
I actually find that span the more interesting time period.
Yeah.
I'll say this, Josh, you have your finger on the pulse pretty well, pretty consistently. I'm I'm kind of impressed at this point after doing this for 9 episodes with you. It's
Oh.
it's really impressive. I'm just gonna like. It's almost like you have like some.
He is our head nerd.
Right. He's like I said. He's the thermometer of our temp checks.
And I'll say it again. Disney, I'm available. Like all you got to do is beat 6 figures. I'm available.
So Corey's our guy in the chair.
Corey is our guy in the chair.
And,
You are the wise one.
Jason is the wise one.
Yeah.
He reins in my
Yes.
ridiculousness.
So basically, I'm the one that stops all the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Let's move on.
I mean,
Next one there. Corey.
it's the most pessimistic way to put it, but
All right. So aside from the Obi-Wan discussion, we'll be saving for the end of this episode. That wraps up our Star Wars news segment from
But
Star
it
Wars
doesn't stop
Celebrations.
Lucasfilm stuff.
It does not stop the rest of the Lucasfilm stuff because apparently they kind of use Star Wars Celebration to talk about all things Lucasfilm, even though these are not Star Wars things. So 2 other stories we want to talk about quickly. The first being Indiana Jones 5. We have gotten our first little tease of him back in costume, Harrison Ford back in costume, as well as a date that we can be expecting Indiana Jones 5 to hit theaters, which is June 30th, 2023. So a little over a year from now, Indy will be hitting theaters one last time. We got a little teaser image, a little silhouette of him in the cave, it looks like. But yeah, Harrison Ford is still doing things.
I kind of like the gold with the black in the picture. Kind
it's
of
a very warm picture.
Yeah, very warm. Kind of almost like it reminded me of a sunset image, which I think is appropriate.
Yeah,
I
we'll
have a
be sure to
feeling.
link to that image in the show
Yeah.
notes.
Right. I mean, and there's nothing telling in it. It's just the iconic.
No, I mean, there's not a lot
image
to.
of-
Little tease.
There's not a lot to say. They didn't show anything else. They didn't really talk about it. We still have no idea what it's about.
Literally nothing.
Right.
all we know is-
Except for some casting news, like Mads Mikkelsen is in it in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's being
He's the villain.
directed.
I don't know why we keep acting like he's not the villain. He's the villain.
He's the villain. I mean, he's gonna.
He's the
Yeah.
villain. Let's
Yeah.
just call it. He's the villain.
We also know that the primary photography is completed, right?
Yes. Yeah. Filming has completely wrapped. Yeah.
Okay, filming's wrapped. So now it's just editing, in inserting effects and music, and okay.
At this point, Harrison
Yeah.
Ford is free to fall out of the sky as many times as he wants to. Principal photography is done.
Right.
All right. One more story coming out of this, and Jason, I'm going to let you lead this one because I don't know anything about this, but I'll read the little intro.
I think Jason's the only one who's intimately
I've
familiar
never
with
even
this.
heard of this one.
Yeah.
So a little teaser trailer for a Disney Plus series, Willow, has dropped, giving us a look at the continuation of the story and characters first introduced in the 1988 classic feature film from the Ron Howard directed film, Willow. So it's been 34 years since the original film came out. It's a story originally written by George Lucas, I believe. And Jason, you can take it away. I don't know anything about this, so I guess we're getting a follow-up 34 years later.
Right. That's pretty much the correct story. So, this is basically my understanding, and I don't know how much of this is just kind of lore and how much of this is actuality. George Lucas became enamored with the actor Warwick Davis when he played Wicket the Ewok in Return of the Jedi. And Wicket is the one that Leia encountered in the forest. He actually wrote this movie for Warwick Davis to be the main character. It's kind of a fantasy magic type deal. It's got giants. It's got little pixie type people. It's got
Val
war.
Kilmer.
It's got Val Kilmer in it. Well, yeah, I was going to
do
get to the
remember
actors
it
here.
now. Okay.
Yeah. So Val Kilmer is in it as kind of this rogue swordsman. Joanne Wally is in it as Sorsha. Joanna Wally was, if you watch Daredevil, she plays the nun who turns out to be his mother.
Spoilies.
Yeah, spoilers. Sorry, yeah.
You've had time.
It's got Billy Barty is another really popular character actor. Tony Cox is in it as one. He's from Bad Santa. He plays one of the characters. Anyway, it's kind of where a lot of these people got their starts. Anyway, really great story. Graphics were kind of but it was fun to
80s,
watch. But yeah, it was 80s. Anyway, so for some reason, which I'm fine with, they've decided to make a continuation of Willow's story, played by Warwick Davis, in this series that's been announced.
I kind of get the feeling that Lucasfilm was just like, okay, we have Star Wars, we have Indiana Jones. What other properties do we have? And they picked that one randomly.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, and Warwick Davis, he's well known in the nerd and geek community. He's been in Harry Potter as several different characters. He's been in Star Wars repeatedly, all sorts of Star Wars movies. He's in all sorts of different science fiction and fantasy series and movies. So he's well known in that community. So I kind of like that they're coming back to this series. I hope it's good. I don't know what they could do with it, but I'm looking forward to see what they do.
So what's interesting to me is they did confirm that Val Kilmer is going to reprise his role.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, he does have health issues.
Yeah.
Like he's completely lost the ability to speak.
Yeah, which they used CG magic to fix that in Top Gun. So I wonder if they're going to attempt to do something similar for the show, which, I mean, reprising his role could mean anything from recurring character to 5-second cameo.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, I mean, this is slight spoilers, but I mean, it doesn't really change the movie at all. In Top Gun Maverick, he does make an appearance for one scene. But actually, for the most part, they actually embraced his not being able to talk. Like him and Tom Cruise just shared a scene together, and he actually used a computer to talk to Tom Cruise. So it's actually only one line at the end of that scene where he actually spoke, and they actually used film magic to actually make his voice. So for the most part, they're actually embracing that he can't talk.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a touching moment.
And it looks like they're using this. It looks like they're using Willow. Sorry, to move back to
now you go
back
ahead.
to Willow. So they're using this as a vehicle to kind of push some of their newer actors that you'll see in the Disney universe and the Marvel universe. Erin Kellyman, you saw her in Solo as the leader of the Rebels. You also saw her as the leader of the Rebel group in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Tony Revolori, who played Flash in the Spider-Man Homecoming movies. So you'll see some people that you recognize in that.
Oh, Flash Thompson. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Flash Thompson. Yes.
Corey was picturing the Scarlet Speedster in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how that worked.
I didn't say the Flash. I said Flash. I mean, again, words are important, folks. Words are important, folks.
Anyway, so I mean, I don't think I ever saw the original Willow, so I guess you're recommending it.
Yes,
you seem excited about it. So,
it's definitely a childhood movie for me.
I'll probably hate it. Okay,
Corey.
I'll give it a try. I'll watch it.
Have you seen A Never-Ending Story?
I'm gonna say I don't like fantasy in general.
Yeah, the 80s fantasy were kind of its own genre in of itself. Yeah. So it's definitely has that trope going for it. So if you weren't a fan of that, you probably aren't going to be a fan of this, honestly.
Like Corey's not even big on Lord of the Rings.
Mm-mm. Like I'll watch the new show on Amazon because I feel like I have to.
No,
I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
I didn't know. I didn't know, Corey. Oh my gosh!
Like even when it comes to video games, like Final Fantasy, Fable, even Zelda, not a fan of.
Okay, all right. I'm telling myself that differences are good. Differences are good. Okay,
this is. You didn't really watch The Witcher either. Yeah,
no, I tried.
This is what makes the world interesting. This is what makes the world interesting. Moving on. Let's move on from Willow before I get angry. Keep moving.
Let's get into reviews, and we have to start with the big one.
Right.
We have gotten our first 2 episodes of Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Probably the most anticipated of all upcoming Star Wars shows, obviously.
Ever. I think that
maybe even
I
ever.
think that's right.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that could have been in this was like Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy series. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, there are definitely other things that could probably beat it, but
in reality, this is like the show. You're right.
Yeah, and like it's the perfect combination of things. Like we have Ewan McGregor being Obi-Wan Kenobi still, and just all sorts of things. So first 2 episodes, who wants to start? Just sharing their thoughts.
Corey, why don't you start? You seem really excited about this. Why don't you start?
I have a whole list of things.
Yeah, Corey never starts.
Honestly, mostly positives, but I just want to hit a few things specifically. Can we talk about the opening? Just starting here, the opening, like previously on Star Wars segment.
We talked about that at work. I was just like,
great.
Thank
Honestly,
you in case I haven't seen Star Wars.
Well, not even that. It's just that is the perfect way to watch the first 3 movies, episodes 1 through 3. If you just don't want to watch the first 3 movies, like
it was actually a really good recap.
It was a really good recap, and it was dramatic, and it summed up the story perfectly. I never have to watch those movies again.
Right. Yeah. And I was thinking this could be a new formula for anything that's got such a long backstory, like Marvel movies or something. You know, just kind of pull the important stuff from the movies and throw it. It was great. Like, I don't even like the prequels, and I enjoyed it. You know, I thought it was important, relevant, and they made it dramatic. It was good.
The opening action sequence, like where we're seeing Order 66, like being initiated, and the Jedi teachers like to protecting her younglings. Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is intense.
A completely unnecessarily, from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah, it didn't really play into
opening thing.
Yeah,
but it's setting the tone.
Yeah, but it was so good. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was a bad thing.
The music,
I know,
during that scene, the music throughout the entire show, obviously, it's awesome because John Williams is back. But he's not back.
It's worth pointing out he's not the one who's actually. He's not the one who's actually scoring the show. They're using his music filled in by another composer who's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But the only thing that John Williams has contributed to the show is archive music and the new theme.
Oh, okay. Well,
everything else, all the background and ambient scoring. Is,
all right.
But if he's integrating Star Wars music, then that is John Williams. I mean, it's going to sound like John Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fine.
Can we talk about Little Leia?
Okay. So actually, I want to say a few things about Little Leia. First off, she's the most adorable thing I've ever seen. But that was the greatest, and I mean this in a good way, the greatest left turn that this series took that I had no idea was coming. Because she wasn't even remotely in the trailers.
Oh, yeah.
It was heavily insinuated. Like, we knew one of the kids was going to make Obi-Wan step out of the shadows. Mm-hmm. But it was heavily insinuated it was going to be Luke. Something to do with Luke. Mm-hmm. And so, oh, by the way, this is what Leia's doing. And even when they first went to her, I was just like, oh, great. We're going to... Here comes the madrigal of the Obi-Wan series. A pointless story that has nothing to do with anything else. Oh, no, never mind. It's the catalyst for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So... that was awesome. Wasn't expecting it. I thought it was great. And yes, she is adorable. But also, I'm so glad just at the sheer number of actors who have agreed to come back for their roles.
I was going to say, next.
Including Bail Organa.
Right.
Yeah, Jimmy Smith is back. I love him. He's aged a little bit, which is kind of sad.
I was going to say, he's the one who's looking like he's a little bit older now, like when he walks around and things like that. Like,
but I mean, he has a big role, which is really nice. Like, it's not just like a little cameo. Like, he's actually in there for a considerable amount of scenes.
Yeah, a driving force behind the plot. Yeah. And so, so that was my big. Those were my 2 big takeaways. I did not see the Leia thing coming at all.
Yeah,
and I just was so happy between Smits and Joel
Egerton.
Edgerton, Joel. Joel coming back as Uncle Owen, which we knew he was coming back as Uncle Owen.
Right. Yeah, he was in the trailer.
But again,
it lends consistency, and
it does. So many people just agreeing to come back. And I don't know if we're going to see any more of Uncle Owen. I don't know how quickly Obi-Wan's going to make it. Yeah, I don't know how quickly he's going to make it back to Tatooine. But like it's Joel feels like a lived in Uncle Owen. Like, he grounded the story actually in a fairly substantial way. He made it feel real, even though he was only on screen 10 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. So actually just using that more, like people making appearances again, using the same actors. Can we talk about the very short
Clone Trooper?
The Clone Trooper. They actually used what's his face?
Yeah.
It was the Clone Trooper.
Tamura Morrison.
Yeah. Like, that's
Like
I mean, I
that's
recognize the
consistency
voices.
upon consistency. Like,
Yeah,
that's
like I
fantastic.
recognized the voice as soon as they did it.
Yeah.
But
it had to be him. Like you, because he was a
Yeah.
clone trooper. You're like, oh, it has to be Boba Fett. It has to
Yeah.
be Jango Fett. It has to be the clone
Yeah, and
troopers.
it's-
It has to be
and it
Commander
was-
Cody. It was him. It was Tamora
Yeah.
Morrison.
and
Yeah.
like it wasn't just a voiceover. Like they had him there, they had him in full makeup. Like it was him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Here's
like,
another
that's
one
just,
that was a left field for me. Kumail Nanjiani, the same guy who's in the Eternals. He was the fake Jedi.
Oh, yeah,
fake Jedi. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
funny.
Well, so when
That
they
was- yeah.
announced his casting, I thought, oh, he's going to be an actual Jedi. No,
no,
no.
no. Although that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's I mean, yeah, especially that far out. Like, of course there's gonna be people who try to take advantage of that and do stuff. So again, a little something that kind of makes it feel more real, because sadly, people being crappy is something that grounds a series, because that is real life. So no, he was over the top, but he was a joy. He was funny.
So let's actually talk about a bigger plot thing. Did you guys notice the happy, sad contrast between Tatooine and I guess it was Naboo?
No, that's Alderaan.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's Alderaan. This is the
That's
first
right,
time we've
that's right.
ever actually seen, for longer than like 1 second, Alderaan. As
Well,
important as it is, we blew it up as soon as we were introduced to it. And the only
Right.
time we saw it was when Bale took home little Leia at the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
Love and all
But anyway,
that.
so just the happy, sad contrast on Tatooine, like Obi-Wan's all sad and stuff. Then we go over to Alderaan and like everything's happy and Jimmy Smits is smiling and playing
Well,
and everything.
Being royalty has that effect on you.
Yeah, I just thought it was a nice little.
Yeah, she had a little droid companion that she didn't have to build or clean up or
Yeah.
get its memory wiped or something.
And no sand.
But anyway, so that was all my things. You guys, Jason, what about you?
I thoroughly enjoyed both episodes. There was one scene where I was just like, "Oh, come on!" And it's when Leia's getting chased, and I'm just
I
like,
thought the same thing.
I was like, "Okay, this is ridiculous. Like they should have just
These are grown ass men.
right, exactly, just grab her." You're right. I'm like, it took me okay. Now, the other thing that took me out, was the head mercenary. I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere. And I was trying to figure out who the heck he was. It turns out this mercenary that was leading the other mercenaries is Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. So,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
It's
so
an
I
interesting
was-
little cameo.
yeah, it was, but it was so much. It was like this is somebody, and it pulled me out of the episode every time I saw him because I was trying to figure out who the heck he was. And I don't know if that's my fault or theirs. I don't know. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. I like seeing it just from a appreciation standpoint. You could see what time and the events of episode 3 has done to Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's
Yeah.
beaten down.
He's down in the dumps.
He has lost his way, and he's not really looking to find it.
Yeah.
And he's playing that really well.
Even when Bail Organa asks him to help, the way he plays that is not even so much that he doesn't want to. It's that he's very scared that he just can't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like
That too.
that's how
Right.
that came across, like he even says I am not that man anymore. He's
Mhm.
it's not so
Like
much that he's scared, it's that he just can't do
And like he even surprised himself when he saved Leia from falling using the Force. Like he was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can still do that."
Yeah. And it took a second to get it going.
Yeah.
Like that was
I don't know if it was, I was wondering about that myself. I didn't know if it was a decision-making issue or getting back into using the Force. Maybe a little bit of both, but I was actually wondering about what the delay on that was.
Yeah.
For that moment. So I don't know.
So sister killing the head inquisitor.
Yeah, did not
Didn't
see
see
that.
that coming.
Like,
Like
I thought
that
he
was-
I thought he was the big baddie, and she was like kind of the
Yeah.
rogue agent.
Yeah, I
but,
spent
yeah,
the 2 episodes waiting for him to put her down,
Yeah.
Right.
but that it didn't work out that way.
I also liked how they kind of tease like, oh, we're about to get a lightsaber fight. Oh, nope. Oh, lightsaber fight. Oh, nope. Never mind. Oh, lightsaber. Nope. They did not. They kept you wanting more, and I was okay with it.
Yeah, which again I think is a good thing. Like it's even when Obi-Wan got his lightsaber out and he was thinking about whether or not he was going to need to use it, like it was just worry and concern. And again, and it's like I don't know if he was worried. It couldn't be about being found out as a Jedi anymore. They know he's there.
Right.
Not just a Jedi. They know he is there.
It's like the
So-
Jedi.
Yeah, so that means what he's worried about is his performance. Can he do it? And so that's it's interesting, and like it's a fun character arc. I mean, not for him, but for us.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
fun character arc that I just never imagined Obi-Wan having confidence issues.
But it's also playing in perfectly to how we see Obi-Wan come episode 4. Like
Yeah.
he's a hermit. He
Mhm.
is as far removed from the Force as possible. It's like it's definitely leading to that, which is nice.
And I know, and I don't know if you guys know, but there's a whole extended universe or expanded universe aspect to these Inquisitors, and to these Jedi hunters and all this other stuff, that we're seeing referenced in Kenobi and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know about you guys. I've never read any of those books. I've never seen any of that media. So I don't have anything to gauge the consistency of the stories, or anything like that. So when, for those of you who are listening that have followed these stories, understand that we're watching these with a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
So, just, I know how Star Wars fans get. so please be forgiving. We're just enjoying it because it's good. It's good stuff. We're good acting, good music, good story.
Little thing here. A little, what do you call them? Easter egg. So the toy that Obi-Wan was collecting for
Yes.
Luke, did you guys notice what that
I know.
was?
Yeah, totally. I saw it when he bought it. I was like, oh, I know what that's for. Yes,
So
that.
so in episode 4,
Mhm.
Luke is playing with that toy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll share that.
Not just
screenshot.
a toy like that. It is
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Same paint scheme and everything.
So
So
again,
clearly at some point,
consistency
yeah.
upon consistency. I'm loving it.
It's very enjoyable. If you haven't watched it yet and you have Disney Plus, or you have a friend that you can bum Disney Plus off of, go watch it. Enjoy it.
Let's talk about that final moment before we move on. Vader.
Mhm.
We got our first look at Anakin, and like when Obi-Wan realized who they were talking about, just his whole demeanor changed. Like he was scared.
He was.
Well,
scared.
remember he was
Or-
under the assumption he left Anakin for dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the side of which, come to think of it, is not a very Jedi-like thing to do. You think out
I
of mercy,
I
Out
have
of
had
mercy.
issues with that particular
Yeah.
scene for the longest time for that exact reason. I'm like,
Yeah.
why did he just not kill him?
yeah.
Why did he just
Well-
leave him there burned?
Well, because then
and
you lose
crisp?
your main villain for the original.
Right. So
trilogy.
then that should have ended differently. That
just-
should have
It
come about in
couldn't
a
because
different
he
way.
had the high ground.
It just never dawned on me that Obi-Wan didn't realize he wasn't dead.
I had
It's
that
was
same
actually- That was
realization.
kind of like a shock to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, he didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Wow.
But it made complete sense when
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Because think about it,
wasn't
they were
like,
the
oh,
only
it's-
they were the only people on Mustafar at the
Mhm.
time. So as far as he knew,
Yeah. So I was right there with you, Corey. I agree with that. And he did portray that realization very well. Like you could see him
like he
like
was-
doing that cold breathing where
He
you're
was
scared,
petrified.
and yeah, it was very good. So props to Ewan McGregor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so big cliffhanger going into episode 3, which we start airing just one episode a week now, and it's 6 episodes, I believe.
yeah.
So we
after
have-
this
we
next
have-
episode comes out, you're halfway through it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have 4 more weeks of this. What are we giving so far Obi-Wan Kenobi after 2 episodes?
So I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. That Leia chase scene just kind of ruined the 5. I'm sorry. I'm like, my brother and I were watching it and we just looked at each other. We're like, really? It was just
And it's not like these were like super strong trees or anything. Like,
Right.
they could have like parted the bushes
right.
and just
And it's
grab
like,
her, but-
she was, a little 10-year-old girl running and the men
wasn't
can't
that, like,
sprint
they were-
fast enough to.
I was going to say, like, it wasn't even just the obstacles that they couldn't get past. It was like clearly she was running not that fast, and they
Right.
were running. They could obviously run faster.
They
Like, it was-
were trotting.
yeah.
And like, and the funny thing was, like, it wasn't a sequence that was like so long that important things happened.
Right.
So like, we could have cut 30 seconds
They
out of
could
that.
have
Or honestly,
just
just cut
kidnapped
the
her.
running completely
They
and just
could have just
yeah.
kidnapped
Yeah,
her.
and
honestly.
it wouldn't have changed like the
No.
pacing of the show
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah,
It was
that
just
was
weird.
That was a bad call with the editor. I think they should have
just
Anyway.
cut that whole thing.
Anyway, so
Jason's a 4.5, so
Yeah.
still pretty good. What about you, Josh?
Because I don't believe in the partial points. And with the assumption that it's probably only going to ramp up from here, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5. 5 out of 5. I thought it was pretty stupendous. The one little forest scene aside, it was
it's so silly, guys.
It was just kind of weird and just one of those things that could have been on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
so I'm gonna give it 5 moisture evaporators out of 5.
All right. Yeah, I'm there with you. I don't think, as ridiculous as the running chase scene was, I'm not going to deduct points for it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because I was enjoying every moment of it. So
if the chase scene had been any longer,
yeah,
okay, it would have been the foot race version of the pod race.
It would have been the magical.
I'm sorry, when the person you're sitting next to and you look at each other in disbelief, then I think that merits a 0.5 deduction.
We all have our scales.
All
right, so that puts us at a 4.83 across the board after 2 episodes. We have 4 more episodes to go, so we'll see where it ends up. So moving into our weekly update on Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Woo!
We're on episode, we've seen 4 episodes now. Is that correct?
Yes.
4.
And I want to encourage Jason and Josh to say something other than it's perfect. I want to challenge you guys.
I can say that this time.
Okay.
For me, this was kind of a meh episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say the opposite. I was
going to say this episode addressed the only things we complained about last episode.
Interesting.
I don't go that far. So I'll go in and go. So it was a kind of a graphic episode. Like there was like blood everywhere and just mayhem. I loved it. We were saying that the show has become or it is predictable. Like it's always going to have a happy ending. And that has been my biggest complaint about it. But with this episode, there actually got to be a point where I was like, oh, this might not have a happy ending. It did. So
it didn't for 7 crew members.
Well, okay. So I was going to say that was actually like my one note is actually they killed people.
Yeah, like there were actual stakes this time around. Not everyone made it out.
Yeah, but I guess my thing was it was not main characters. It was not. So
to be fair, though, half these main characters we know are going to be fine because they make it to the original series. So that's
one's already seen his death. So
yeah. So like from a writing standpoint, that's got to be tricky because how do you infuse super high stakes for those characters? Because like Jason said, at least 4, maybe 5, we know are going to be, at least in the long run, okay.
Well, so I think the way that they've been able to do this is that the Federation and the ideals of the Federation and Starfleet are kind of its own character. It's kind of one of the things that kind of push their decisions and how they go through the galaxy looking at, searching strange new worlds. So I think when they have an opportunity to explore or demonstrate those Starfleet and Federation ideals, that is a way that they're able to introduce some of that unknown for what's going on. So the selfless acts, the sacrifice, the curiosity rather than suspicion, that kind of stuff. I think that's its own character, and I think that's how that's introduced.
Yeah. All that to say, my biggest caveat of this, my biggest con of this show so far, was addressed in a way that it still is predictable, but not so predictable that I don't like it. So actually, this episode has probably been my favorite so far. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so what about you guys? Josh, you go ahead.
I think they actually did a good job of being a little less predictable than usual. I did know it was going to be the Gorn pretty quickly. But I also feel like they didn't really try to hide that. I mean, they made it very clear that was one of Singh's concerns almost immediately. And so that's okay. I think it got the plot going. But I mean, like how that was going to be resolved. I actually felt tension. I got to watch it with my dad again.
Really?
And
You guys didn't invite me.
Well, you were getting ready for your trip. But no, he said the same thing because I was thinking it while they were doing it. So while they're in the nebula and they're running quiet and all that other stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen any submarine movie ever made, but they were doing they were doing huge homages to all the submarine movies.
Yeah.
It actually made me think of Wrath of Khan.
Okay. And well, I just don't think it's a stretch for Star Trek to make me think of Star Trek. But
you're such an ass.
But no, I mean it really was though. The whole, like, again, every World War II submarine movie, they turn off all the instruments and everything like that because the enemy's listening for sonar, right? Like any little sound they're going to hear, even if you're talking loudly in the submarine, they can pick that up. And so they're running quiet. In every good submarine movie, the captain always says we're going to go deeper so that they don't look for us. And so in this, they go further towards the black hole and the pressure is getting worse and worse. You can hear the ship coming down on you a little bit. Again, that's in every good submarine movie. And so it's just all those little things. They even did the stuff where when Spock is checking to see if the warhead worked, he's looking through the quote unquote periscope. And just like in the good submarine movies, you don't see the ship blow up. You just hear it.
Right.
And like it was really cool, and I'm glad that my dad caught that with me.
So I think the best part about like using that submarine movie reference again, the best thing about those movies was there's a lot of suspense to them, and I think that's what I liked about this episode was actually there was a little bit of suspense. Like you're like, what's going to happen next? Yeah,
like I know the Enterprise isn't going to blow up, right? But like, there's a lot that can still happen between that. I didn't know if they were going to get boarded. I didn't know if anything. And that is actually my only con for the episode. I wanted to see the Gorn.
Yeah.
Either in the flashback or through a boarding action or something like that. I wanted to see what they were going to do with the Gorn, because the Gorn is I'm struggling to think of a word that's better than iconic bad alien costume from the original series. Like it was just the big orange lizard costume that Kirk fights in the desert, and like it's not very good. And so like I wanted to see what this show with the incredible special effects and production value was going to make the Gorn look like. So that was my only bummer, and I'm sure they're going to save it for another episode at some point. But for me, that was the only letdown, and it didn't really affect my opinion of the episode. I was just really hoping I was going to get to see what
they left you wanting more.
A little bit, but not inherently in a bad way.
Right, I mean, exactly.
Not showing the monster is classic.
Exactly,
right?
Like Alien.
Yeah, and this in the timeline is the perfect time to do that, because as Singh says, no one has seen Gorn and really lived to tell about it. So they don't know what it looks like yet. So not seeing the monster kind of puts you in their shoes. It's something horrifying, but you don't know what it looks like. So, like I said, I still think it's great. I still give it a 5 out of 5.
But you also mentioned something earlier this week that you liked about the episode that kind of runs parallel to our own timeline.
Yeah, and I have to think that that's not a coincidence that episode came out this week. It's essentially a Memorial Day episode. And that was good. Pike's speech about it, I think, was very relevant, both in universe and out of universe. And so that was cool. Not a lot of shows, especially, high concept sci-fi, have really done anything like that before. And so that was cool. That was neat. And that was just a neat little shout out that I noticed, and I'm sure a bunch of people did. I just thought that was a cool thing and a kind of a winking sign of respect.
I hadn't seen the episode when you texted us that.
Oh,
and so no. It wasn't a big spoiler. It wasn't a big spoiler because it's addressed like first thing. So I went in with that knowledge and I had to agree with you. It was, I do think that it was kind of a nod to Memorial Day, May 30th, here or in real life. And I think I honestly think that they were trying to respect that. So, I mean, if we're wrong, we're wrong, but we got a good message out of it. So we'll take it.
I think it had to be on purpose just because, like we've said, these are fairly episodic storytelling, right? So they could have aired that episode at any point.
Right.
And it wouldn't really have affected anything.
Yeah.
So
I appreciated it.
Yeah. I can't believe it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was nice.
Yeah. So Jason, you haven't said much. Do you want to share any thoughts about this episode?
It was a good, solid episode. I think, earlier I said it was kind of meh. I think for me, they wanted to do these parallel stories that were running. You got one in engineering, you got one in sick bay, you got one on the bridge, and then you've got the stuff happening on the lower decks where there's other damage that's happening. So that kind of those calamities are kind of its own story. And I think the tension that they were trying to convey for me just didn't hit. And so it was kind of, the stories were good, but I didn't feel any sense of danger. I didn't feel any sense of gravitas to anything. So it was just kind of, man, I mean, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it, but for me, it was kind of the weakest episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is, but not bad. I mean, just leading into our points, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I mean, it wasn't horrible.
Let's go ahead and use that as a segue. So.
Yeah. So I know. 4.5. Yeah.
So as a reminder, we're rating this show a little bit differently than everything else we've been doing. Because it is episodic, we're actually giving every episode their own scores, and then we're actually averaging all those scores together to give us an overall score. So for episode 4, Jason, you're saying you're giving it what was it?
4.5.
A 4.5. That is a funny looking number. All right, Josh, what about you? Episode 4.
I'm still gonna stick with 5. 5 Gorn nests out of 5.
All right. And this has probably been my favorite episode so far. So I'm gonna get a 5 as well, which means
despite Jason's mutiny.
Despite Jason's mutiny, it's actually still our highest rated TV show or movie. Still, it is a 4.96 across the board after 4 episodes.
Excellent.
Which feels right.
Yeah. It's still, I mean, it is an excellent series.
Well, no, I mean, I feel like that's a very real answer. Like it's, we can't call it perfect, but it is pretty darn close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that actually wraps up everything for this episode. Jason and Josh, do you have any final thoughts before Josh closes us out with another quote?
I really would love for everybody out there that's listening to this to please share the heck out of this.
Yes.
We have been told that this is a really good sounding podcast, that we sound like we know what we're talking about, that people enjoy listening to us, that we're funny. And honestly, I like, when I first get to hear our episodes, when Corey puts them out, like I'm smiling during the whole thing. Maybe it's a little self-indulgent, but I think
I think that's like the definition.
Yeah, but you know what? I enjoy it. It sounds good. So share the heck out of this. I mean,
if you've gotten this far in the episode, you're an hour into it,
right?
You're still listening.
Share it.
You have to go share it.
Right. You owe it to us to go share.
And tag us. Tag me, tag Corey, tag Josh in it if we're friends on Facebook. And let us see that you're sharing it. Come on. Let's get it out there. This deserves some traction. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for being here, though.
My final thought is go see Top Gun Maverick. That's it. That's all I got. The
pregnant
I think they're going to like you more after that.
May the force be with you always.